right. Well, thank you for having me. Excited to get a chance to present on this topic. My role at TriStar is the Vice President of Digital Transformation Services. And really what my focus is really helping our clients deliver accelerated time to value. And the topic of Windchill Navigate is one that I think is underutilized in our ecosystem. And a lot of it has to do with discussions around PLM and discussions around extending the footprint of PLM, which is certainly part of the cornerstone. But the perspective for myself is really looking at what we're calling sort of the digital thread for CAD, and the fact that a lot of our people at our user groups are heavy into CAD use, Creo use, but there's so much more that visualization does for the organization, and that providing more of a platform and a set of apps that other people outside of engineering can use really opens up a lot of the power of the CAD that we're doing, and really around this enterprise data access. So what I wanted to provide today is just kind of a different perspective on utilizing the Windchill Navigate apps. We'll spend some time talking through what the different apps are. I think a lot of our clients aren't even familiar with some of the new additions that PTC has provided as part of the full suite that comes with PTC licensing. And I'm, again, going to make this very CAD centric because I think that drives a lot of the adoption and a lot of the opportunities to improve with the business. So I've been in the PTC ecosystem for over 20 years now. Started with ProE 2000i, Intralink, on through all of the CAD platforms, and all the way to Windchill PLM. And then now I've really started to broaden what we're doing from an application and software development to improve adoption and things along those lines. So I'm excited to show you guys what we have here today. All right, so just kind of want to start with sort of the vision that I see in a lot of engineering departments is the designers, the engineers, the people that are creating this digital twin, this virtual prototype in Creo, are a lot of times the cornerstone of a lot of other data share and data transfer. And we've got people in procurement, we've got people in purchasing, manufacturing, service, that all want access, whether it's 2D drawings or 3D visualization. We're saving out IGES files and step files, and we're sharing that with different vendors. It starts to become very challenging to meet the needs of everyone, while your number one job and goal is to innovate and improve products and make sure that we're getting product out the door in a timely manner. So I like this image because this happens a lot, where so many channels come through engineering to provide things that if they were more self-serve, and we can make sure that we've got control and we've got access, the right type of access control to the data, we start to open up a lot of the capabilities that we're building through our CAD tools and our PLM tools. So this is very common to move this way. And also we're trying to create a set of tools that are lightweight enough that people that aren't heavy CAD users or PLM users, and they're focusing most of their energy in other enterprise systems, we want this to be as lightweight as possible, and kind of getting back to that initial accelerated time to value that I was talking about. And what we've done over the last couple of decades, if you look at things from a marketing perspective, sales perspective, manufacturing, service, it is a system of workarounds, and the bottleneck is often engineering. And even if it's easy enough to create the content, when you start looking at the demands of those working in CAD day in and day out, a lot of these things take longer than they should to open that data up to the rest of the business. So we've got our binders and printouts, we've got emails, we've got Dropbox, we've got all kinds of things that go into sharing data, but it's all disparate and it's all spread out throughout the organization. And so what I really want us to impact with Windchill Navigate is providing a set of tools that now open up all of the great stuff that we're creating from a CAD and PLM perspective. So Windchill Navigate is something that I've been a part of since about a decade ago, when PTC shared the same vision of trying to create lighter weight role-based applications that can access PLM data. And in many cases, the PLM data is things like drawings, 3D models, other visualization that we want to leverage throughout the enterprise. And what most clients still do to this day is they use their Windchill View licenses and they use Creo View, and they access some of that data, but it's still in a way that requires some training. And we're all very used to apps and lighter weight capabilities. That this tool set is what many of our clients own and have licensing for, but it's very quick for us now to stand this up and start to leverage what Windchill Navigate is. So I want to just inform what is there with out of the box PTC capabilities. And at TriStar, we've even gone and extended that more into the change management domain. I'm going to focus more on just the view and collaborate side of things today, but just know there's a roadmap for even more capability. And really what we're trying to do is make this enterprise data access. This has a massive impact when you start to allow others in the business to have seamless access, to be able to go download their own step file and take that out to manufacturing, to be able to go view their own drawing, maybe do annotations and markups, or maybe just go view a part structure and look at that CAD-driven part structure, the attributes that are on it, be able to look around the visualization. That's some of the stuff that we're going to demonstrate today. And the more clients that I've worked with that have seen this, that understand where it fits into the business, they get pretty excited about what the possibilities are. So I'm hoping that's what happens here today. There are two main types of apps that PTC provides with Windchill Navigate. Those that are just view only. Think of it as a Google search, type in a part number. I want to look at a drawing. I want to view and measure in 3D. I'll show the view part structure. It's just looking at data. And for the vast majority of downstream consumers, this meets the need. Now, for others that we want to start participating in our change process or being able to create things like problem reports and start getting information into our enterprise data sharing, our enterprise change management, that's where the collaborate applications come in. And then on top of Windchill Navigate, it is an application development platform where you can build tailored apps to your business if there's some specific things that you're looking to do. And that's something we do quite a bit of at TriStar. So I'll give you kind of an overview of the view and collaborate. The ones that I think are the highest value, there's definitely different capabilities, but I'll kind of focus on where I'm seeing the biggest opportunity. And the first one is just the view part drawings, part structure, and view and measure. And what we have with these apps, and I'll show it live here in a second, is once you search for that assembly or part that you're looking at, it's very interactive, and you have the ability to kind of move throughout this interface and look at things like go from a part structure to a parts list. You can look at design files if there are any drawings that are generated for it. And through each step, you'll see that we could go into Windchill. We want more information. We want to be able to traverse more data that's captured around that part or that assembly, but also we have the ability to report problems. And there's a few different windows that the organization or the business will have to actually be able to generate problem reports, which to me is an important opportunity, because oftentimes that is an area that we don't provide as much access to. And now we've got a really nice simplified app that allows us to kind of capture things we see out in the field, on the manufacturing floor, maybe calls we get from customers, things along those lines. So it kind of ties everything together in this more enterprise digital thread. So that's on the view app side of things. When we start looking at the collaborate portion of things, the one that I'm going to focus on today, as I mentioned before, is the create problem report. This is a very simple way to get data into your PLM system, into Windchill, that allows us to find different things that we see that keep us out of the realm of sending emails, making phone calls. There's really no traceability to opportunities to improve our products or processes that we see. And now we have a really nice simplified window to be able to provide that into our change team and assess those, decide if we're going to create a change request or a change notice based on some of those discoveries. Problem report is sort of that cornerstone or fundamental object that we can really create. And the final one that's new and probably new to a lot of people that I have this conversation with is view work instructions. So in the past, depending on how mature your digital thread is, we've got our engineering bill of material, we have our manufacturing bill of material. Inside Windchill, we have the capabilities to even build process plans and utilize things like Creo Illustrate to take our Creo CAD models, publish that, and then actually create annotations, visualizations, other ways that we can consume the data to create really rich content that is accessible and understood in any language. And we get that visualization to be such a key part of the manufacturing process. And so now we can actually model up our processes in Windchill and be able to consume that down in the View Work Instructions app and go step by step through operations. We can see what attachments we have to that, control characteristics, other data that we want to attach to the actual manufacturing process. So I want to show that here today too, because that's a new capability. There's been a lot of focus on that from a PTC perspective, and I think it's pretty exciting to be able to take this whole digital thread from BOM transformation down to leveraging Creo and Creo Illustrate and Creo View, and then being able to actually consume that at an operator level on the manufacturing floor, and to be able to use that data to actually assemble something or work through different work processes. And then the other thing that I mentioned, I won't spend too much time on it here today, but if you are heavy on the change management side of things, one of the areas that we're excited to have a solution for is what we call our review change. So being able to participate in the change process, but really having a lightweight, simplified view of the change so that you can participate, you can grab your tasks, there's a task view, and you can also move with that to be able to accept, reject, reassign, do those change functions that those that are outside of your heavy Windchill users can really streamline the way that they work with the change process at your organization. So if you are a heavy change management user, or you're looking to go that direction from a Windchill side, definitely follow up with us and we can talk about the capabilities here. But again, I'm going to focus primarily on the Windchill apps. Any questions so far? Otherwise, I'll get into more of a live presentation here. Awesome. All right. So starting with the interface. Again, the goal is role-based, and I've said it before.
Try to make eye contact from far away so you can feel me coming. Yeah. The notes you take every Friday for our meeting.
Yep.
How do you feel about creating some sort of Docker spreadsheet
Does somebody
And
unmute
smart-
it, please?
in SharePoint?
Does somebody
Because then
unmute?
I can just type stuff in there. Oh.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, back to it. So the View apps are made to be role-based and simple for individuals to be able to go in and look at really what data they want to. And as I mentioned before, each of these tiles has a different set of capabilities. They're very purpose-built for what they do. And once you select one of these apps on the part task collection, you can actually traverse through it and look at all kinds of different views of the same data or assembly or part that you're looking up. We've got capabilities around viewing documents and document structures. We'll hit on the report a problem portion of things, and then we'll finish up with the view work instructions and capabilities there. So starting back with the View apps, as I mentioned before, I like to start with the view part structure, because this is where that visualization, the publishing of your CAD data, being able to utilize that downstream really starts to come to life. You can see that the different tiles are actually now here in the interface. And what I like about this is it's interactive. If you're someone that knows your part numbers and just want to go in and do it, you can do that. If you're somebody that's not sure, hey, I heard that we wanted to look at this particular part, I can actually select that in the 3D. And you'll see here that it highlights in the part structure, it highlights some data here. And these attributes over here are actually tailorable too. So you can start to get more insights and more data on what particular component you're looking at. And throughout every one of these areas, we have the ability to report a problem. So if this particular part was an issue, I could click on report a problem. It automatically pulls in the assembly that I'm looking at right now. And I can put in a short description. I can put in a little bit more detail. I can put in some category information if it's quality improvement or there's some other safety issue that we discovered. All of that is able to go in there, pop your name in. I can add some attachments if I've seen something out in the field, I took a picture of it, whatever that may be, and actually report that problem. So I like this because, again, there's so much work that we do that happens outside of an enterprise tool, and now we actually have the opportunity to be working inside the context of all of this great digital assets that we put together and actually start to provide input to the system so we can make better business decisions faster. And so I like that problem report access from sort of all areas of the Windchill Navigate apps. So this is pretty cool. Again, being able to work around, being able to familiarize yourself with the model. I think the visualization is always helpful there. If you're not as concerned with the structure, maybe I don't care about the structure, but I just need to get a parts list pulled together. Then you would actually move over to the parts list tab. And this is kind of nice too. I mean, there's different information that we can pull here, just a very simple sort of Excel type of view. But inside each of these grids, we have the ability to search. If we want to get down to a specific part number, it searches within the grid so we can actually filter down. If I click on that, then again, same thing. We can get more information on the part number. We can take this right into Windchill if we've got more questions. I can report a problem on this particular component. All of this stuff works in a very integrated fashion. Then again, it's simple, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be simple for those outside of engineering to be able to go in, sort of self-serve the information that they need. And a lot of times it might not be about a drawing. It might be about attributes that we have on a part or other things along those lines. This tool allows that really streamlined way to do that. And throughout it, we've got this heads up sort of visualization set of capabilities. So we can say, yeah, that's the right part. That's what I was thinking is the issue. Boom, we hop on that. Or if there's just data we need to get from a purchasing perspective, it's all there and easy to access.
Jeff, there is a question in the chat asking about what BOM filter config spec is used in the part structure app. Is it the default latest, or can you choose?
That is a good question. I believe it's default latest, but let me jot down a note here and I'll send a response on that. Yeah, question around the config spec used for this. I think it's latest released, but there might be some other capabilities around how we control that. I know we've done that for other types of applications, but I'll just need to double check what PTC is providing. But I'm guessing it's latest release. But great question. Cool. So these are the view apps. I mean, again, if we had drawings, we'd be able to look at drawings, view and measure in 3D. You kind of get the gist of what we're looking at here. This could be at an assembly level. This could be at a component level. Lots of capabilities from that perspective. All right. So the next one, actually, I'll go back home and just kind of show this. So the collections here are these apps. They are tailorable. So if we have a specific role in the organization where we really just want them to be able to report a problem and we want them to be able to view drawings, that's it. They care about 2D and we want them, if they find an issue on the manufacturing floor or in prototyping, whatever it is, we want them to be able to get that data into the system. And so you can actually tailor that per the role, where if I log in with that set of capabilities, all I would see would be this view drawings tile, and I would see this this report a problem tile. Okay, and so I'm working away, and I decide, hey, I've seen something, paint's chipping at my station. I'm going to go over here to my tablet or to my kiosk, and I'm going to report a problem. And so they'd simply click on that tile, very much like what you saw in the View Part app, where we had the create a problem or report a problem over here. This is just a dedicated tile to that. So I could put in the paint issue consistent, add more description here, and then it's grabbing the context for what I'd searched for already. I've got a category, and again, these are tailorable in your system, but right now, let's look and see. It appears we've got a quality improvement, and then I'll throw my name on it. Same thing, can browse, add, it's the same view, just in a little bit different access, and I report that problem. That problem then is now created in Windchill, and we can move that into our process of reviewing problems. You've got a change control board or a change review board. You can start to go through those, gather those problem reports up, decide if we're going to take any type of action around it, or maybe we need to get some more information. But this just allows us to start to harness any issues or opportunities that we see for product improvements and have a way for those outside of engineering or manufacturing to get that data into our single source of truth and to be able to utilize that. So I think this is a big adder from the View apps that we've had for, call it 5 years, maybe plus. Now being able to more contribute, have things that are part of that change and review process, I think are a big adder to most organizations. And just such a simple thing of reporting a problem, to me, provides more capabilities for those that are outside of your heavy PLM and CAD users. All right, so that's a good one. The next one, and probably the biggest area where we're seeing a lot of energy is around the view work instructions. So I'm going to move over to this, and like I mentioned before, this is to me fulfills the story around digital thread, and this is a big focus for me. I'm not sure your roles in your organization, but when you start thinking about how data is connected together and how we can have changes and change visibility throughout the entire product development process, from engineering to manufacturing to service, out in the field and back in more of a closed loop manner, this is one way that we can really start to extend it. And depending on it, if you've taken your CAD and your bill of material into engineering bill of materials and have started looking at the capabilities around BOM transformation, which is really the immediate integration inside Windchill between your engineering bill, your manufacturing bill. They could be plant-specific bills of material. They could be service bills of material. That BOM transformation set of capabilities is sort of the starting point of building that integration and connected data. But when you take it a step further, and we've utilized the process plan objects to do a lot of different things, from creating the actual work instructions like you see here on the screen, all the way down to defining things like inspections and other types of work that we want to do for our products and making them in a reusable fashion. But for every single app that we use, leveraging the Windchill data model, we're also very, very heavy on that CAD-driven part of the digital thread, and taking that Creo data or that published data into things like Creo Illustrate, creating really nice visualizations, being able to utilize that now for operators, for service technicians. And I think this app is kind of that first foray into a lightweight way to consume all of the planning and all of the intention that we're doing in the CAD and PLM world. And now we've got that outside where we don't need to have a seat of Creo. We're not downloading a step file and popping it up in some other visualization tool, and we've got separate Excel work instructions or a Word doc that's work instructions. This really ties it all together from a view work instructions perspective. So I'll kind of step through this. What we've done here is we've got an operation called Build Tank, and there's 5 steps to this. And for each one, we've added different capabilities. It highlights what parts are part of this process. If we had fixtures or other things that we wanted to have in here, we can certainly build that into the design as well. If there are attachments, there's further instructions. It's actually a Word doc. We've got things like control characteristics that we want to maintain flatness, or if we're doing things like torque values, other stuff along those lines would be captured in these steps. And then we also can highlight any tooling and things that need to go along with this. So this is step 1. I will move to step 2 because it's got a little bit cooler visualization. So here we've actually taken that Creo data, moved that into Creo Illustrate, and we've got an industry best practice way to work with that Creo data through Creo Illustrate, how to best manage those publications. We call it the digital thread for Creo Illustrate, and that helps us kind of build those connections between engineering, Creo, Windchill, and Creo Illustrate to create a lot of these downstream graphics. And in this case, we're using it for manufacturing, but this could be graphics for tech pubs. This could be graphics for service capabilities. This could be graphics for parts lists, whatever that may be. There's a great way that we can start to leverage all of the incredible content created in engineering, but now have people that are outside of engineering start to create and populate really rich visual data. But same thing as the last step. We've just got more parts. We've got more callouts. We've got a bit more data. I'll pop this one into 3D, and you can kind of see here that, very similar to what we were looking at inside some of the view apps. Now we can actually, navigate this. And if I want to get a little bit closer to understand kind of what I'm working with, maybe this is my first time on this particular step of the station, I can get more information on really what we've got going on there. So we've got a couple options to make it very interactive and utilize this real-time web-based. I didn't have to install Creo View or anything. This is just part of the web-based capabilities and web-based technologies. I've taken my Creo engineering design, I've transformed this, I've created a process plan, I've put all this intent into it, and now I'm an operator that actually can just, from a tablet or a kiosk on the manufacturing floor, actually work with the data. I don't need any other CAD tools. I just need a web browser. So again, I think the power of being able to just install Windchill Navigate, have these out-of-the-box capabilities that are there. That to me is what really hits that accelerated time to value, and what I've been excited to see come to life with many of our clients as they've started to move into more and more recent versions of the technology. So this is the view work instructions. I think this is something that if you do have interest in your organization in expanding maybe from engineering bill of material and really getting into MPM and MBOM capabilities and process plan capabilities, this is what I see a lot of leadership and stakeholders see, and it kind of connects the dots on why we're putting this design into Windchill and moving a lot of our manufacturing engineers and manufacturing process planning into Windchill to be able to do this kind of stuff. And now we're leveraging so much more of the rich content that we're creating upstream in engineering. So exciting stuff, a lot of great ways that we can put this definition together and be able to provide, I think, even more capabilities to the business. Any questions on what we've covered so far? The view work instructions, the view parts. I've got a note on what the config spec is, but beyond that, any initial thoughts or questions on what we've gone through so far? All right, I will keep on moving on. The last one that I wanted to show was just understanding that inside each of these apps, we do have the ability to view drawings. We do have the ability to, if I go back to home here, view and measure in 3D. So if you have people in the organization, I would recommend they get proficient with Creo View. That is an install if you want to do deeper viewing and measuring cross sections, things like that. That will leverage Creo View and the license that you get along with Windchill and Windchill Navigate. But these are capabilities that I think once in place, we can take this and within a few days, it's just a window into Windchill. So if you are using Windchill to manage your Creo data and you're saying, hey, how can we make this faster access to the rest of the business? This is really where we start to see the world come together. And the way that we position it for those that are outside of engineering, like I mentioned before, if we do just want to look at part properties. So I've got a particular part. You can see here, these are recent searches that I have. So if I'm just working this part right now, I'm getting quotes on it. I've got it out to prototyping. It's something that I want to keep top of mind. I can continue to use this. But the other side of it is just a simple type of Google search. So I'll just use the same part number here, but a lot of people might come in and they say, hey, I know my part number. This is what I want to look for. This is much more streamlined than having to go in any enterprise application and do that. This is much more streamlined than going to, in my access, I can see different life cycle states for this particular one, but others, they would only see latest released, right? In this case, we've got one that's released for production. This is self-serving for me. So if I'm somebody, rather than going to engineering and say, hey, can you pull up a drawing for this? Or I want to take a look at this thing. Can you pull it together? I can actually go in and look at the part properties. If I do want to see more data on this, I can actually go directly into Windchill. So it is a portal. And I see even people in engineering, they'll utilize Windchill Navigate to sort of do basic searches because it's faster and simpler. In a lot of cases, but then if they really need to get into some deeper review of the part or the assembly, they're able to move into Windchill and actually be able to visualize that and kind of work with the data there. I am on a VM here, so it's a little bit slower right now, but just know that the access is there to be able to work into Windchill from any of the apps. So we're never limited in our ability to dig deeper or double click in a little bit further to get more information, do things like where used, other stuff, whatever we may need to do. But I would say for the vast majority of users outside of it, they're just looking for a parts list. They're just looking for some part information. They want to know, is this thing released yet? Maybe I'm just working off of this parts list and I'm just tracking states and things like that. There's lots of ways that this tool can be used depending on the level of complexity or how mature you are in your PLM implementation. But this is where I think we can take a lot of the CAD-centric concepts, extend that CAD digital thread, certainly pulling in PLM capabilities to manage those parent-child relationships and any complexities there. But now we've got some lightweight ways that we can get more people in the enterprise access. That's what I've got for today. Again, the goal is simple, accelerated time to value. and making sure that we've got a really robust set of tools that make it easy for those outside of engineering to be able to access the right data based on the data control, the access rights that they have, and managing that appropriately. Any
So
questions?
there's another chat. It says, I don't know if you can read the chat. We're in a heavily soft typed environment for all of these things, parts, documents, change objects. How well does Navigate work out of the box with soft types?
It should be able to work with soft types without issue. I mean, we've got some very complex implementations of Windchill that we're able to use the out of the box Navigate apps. I guess I'd have to learn more about the specific scenario that you guys are looking at, but the intent is it's that window into Windchill. So whatever we've configured, the capabilities for Navigate are to be able to view and access that data appropriately. But I guess we might have to look at your specific scenario and just make sure that there's not any nuances to it that would present any problems.
Yeah, I've got a quick follow-up on question one that was in the chat. So when we're talking about bill of material structure or appearance or anything like that, we use a lot of our parts and assemblies in different simplified reps, and to add in tooling and different things so that we can view them all in one spot. Is there a good way to handle that in Navigate?
So the simplified reps, you're using the simp reps to, like you said, is it more from a manufacturing view perspective, or just kind of help me understand who wants to visualize it, what are they trying to do? Because that's a very Creo function, of course, like you said. So
Yep.
what's the goal there? Who would want to consume that in a slightly different way?
So ultimately, it's using the part geometry as a reference to create different fixtures for manufacturing. The people who are going to want to view it is going to be primarily manufacturing and engineering.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I will take a note of that one. And again, some of these that are a little bit more niche, we might need to just take a look at how we're using it. But again, if it's modeled up and we've got a part number for it, we should be able to get access to it. And the only part would be the simplified reps. If they're keying off, and right now you're training people on the manufacturing side to actually use simplified reps to select that particular view that, maybe you're taking some fasteners out of it, or whatever, however you're simplifying it. We need to look at how that might be consumed from a Navigate perspective, but I think that's a good use case.
Okay. And then a question on the screen that you have up right now, and we have state set to released for all of these. Is this limited to the Windchill states, or can we create and add different states for different things?
Yeah, this will be whatever your life cycle states are for your particular Windchill implementation. So if you don't use the term released, you have a different one, production released or something like that, that would be the state that would show up. If you've got in work or prototype or whatever you have for your life cycle states, it's utilizing your Windchill implementation life cycle states.
And then can we implement those into the change request system that, at different states or different effective, let's say someone wants a change on something, but it's sitting on other change requests and things like that. Can we utilize those states?
Yeah, and just putting definition together on how those transition from state to state, depending on your change process. That's the two pieces that we need to figure out. But yes, I mean, the change process handles the state change. That will be reflected in something like this view parts list or view structure. But yeah, you're using the change process to really move it to transition through those other states. And that's where that app that I had shown to begin with kind of comes into play. I don't have a demonstration of it here today, but when you're talking more pure change management, that's where if we're promoting something or revising something, we're able to utilize that app to accept the change, to rework it or reject it, If we need to reassign that to somebody else to review, that's where more of that pure change management stuff comes into it. The apps that I've shown today, they're not really geared toward that. They're more just consumption. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, most of the users to this, the access that they have is latest released, and that's what they can see. And that's because we want to keep that stuff locked down. But when you start talking about contributing into the change process, that's a slightly different set of capabilities. But I don't know, am I answering your question the right way, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, then just to follow up on that, if all of that structure is there, is that all Windchill file types and not just Creo parts and drawings?
Yeah, that would be
So
all.
for example,
are you in a multi-CAD environment?
we've got some multi-CAD, but also Word documents, and all of our artwork is controlled through Adobe Illustrator and kept in Windchill.
So you have a WT part that represents that artwork or whatever that is in your structure?
No, we don't have everything.
Or something?
No, we don't have everything connected through a WT part at this time.
Okay. So this view part structure is the WT part structure, the enterprise part structure. If you are associating any other types of content, yes, then you could go to this part properties. You'll be able to see other things associated to it, things along those lines. But it all depends on how you're utilizing the parts. There is a view document set of capabilities. So if you are, I'll go back here to the main screen. So we'd have to look how you're associating that. Are you creating a WT doc then, where you might either have a doc structure or an actual document itself? In this case, I think I've got a couple PDFs and things like that. So there are document level capabilities. So if you do have a PDF or that's the final output, but you're also associating the actual native Adobe file or whatever that may be, the data is all in there and it's accessible through Navigate, but it's just how is that structured from a parts perspective?
Yeah, right now none of it's structured together in Windchill. It's all done in a separate ERP system.
Okay.
So then that document, that's not limited to any particular kind of document. I could put step files, PDFs of drawing in parts for, let's say, procurement, and we could put in inspection related documents for quality and manufacturing work instructions for manufacturing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you look at the relationships that you build there, and I'll go back to this first step here. You talk about creating the attachments and related objects. So these are the actual, another more definition, I guess, around the instructions for this fuel tank and fixture. That is a Word doc that's associated to this particular operation in this case, but it could be associated at the part level. There are different ways that we can create those associations, but it knows how to traverse that, depending if we're talking about work instructions versus just part definition, but that stuff is accessible. I'm not saying everything you want to see is part of the out-of-the-box apps per se, but if the data is in Windchill and it's connected, then we can access it through Windchill Navigate.
Okay. So, yeah. I lost the next question on that. Okay. Well,
hey, Chad, what Jeff is talking about in regards to WT parts, those are some of the things that you might want to look at, because when you look at what Jeff's talking about, WT parts, it'll give you all of that. Plus, when you look at a WT part, you can go by describe documents and keep it under rev control. And that's a real big thing and a real big issue going forward.
Yeah, we had that too, and that's why we navigated all of our artworks and spec documentation into Windchill, as we were having a hard time with revision control on those documents, and ultimately,
that's a common issue, and I have run into it myself several times, and has developed, into a heavily, WT part structure. So what Jeff is talking about is really truly great, and this works well with it.
Yeah, I like people that like to talk about the model-based definition and enterprise systems that they have, and they show off the final latest and greatest stuff that they can do. I'm like, we're on step half. We're still sending PDFs and step files internally. So if I see step 10, I know it's out there. We're not there yet.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that you can do internally to Windchill. to do the steps to make what you have to do for Windchill Navigate. So it does become kind of a stepping stone forward. So I know it doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's the intention of this presentation, because like I said, we've built technology and really cool technology on top of Windchill Navigate for a decade and done really complex things for a lot of different clients. But there's still so much value in just being able to go find the step file that you need or find the drawing that you need. And that's being underutilized at this point in time. So I think that's a very simple step. And I know I said it multiple times here, but that is that accelerated time to value. The tech does it already. Let's spin up a Windchill Navigate server. Let's connect it to Windchill. Boom, we can have 10 to 20 new users that can now self-serve and only see latest release data. Now we're letting all this request into engineering to print drawings or send them this file or that PDF. And yeah, again, it's not hard work, but it's just work that takes away from the right priority. And so sometimes it sits on a backlog for weeks when it only takes a minute to do, but it still just doesn't get prioritized appropriately versus like, if we can self-serve, boom, we go get what I need and I'm off to the races. So there's an unwritten part.
Very true.
Generally when purchasing emails you about needing a step file or PDF, they need it now because they have that need right now, not,
right.
Hey, I can let that sit. So I get it.
Well, and Chad, something you might want to consider, Jeff, if you don't mind me stepping in here.
Oh, go ahead.
Something that I have done in the past to make this bridge easier is there's a third party. There's actually a third party adder to Windchill. It's a module called WinCom, and you can actually take and publish, as long as you have a publisher running, you can actually take and publish your step files and your basically your drawing files, PDFs, and so on and so forth. So in most organizations, they'll only allow a step and a PDF out. And so therefore it becomes a stepping stone. But what this does is it relates it to the release. So if you have A.1 or A.2, they're going to be different. And so when you run it through the publisher, you can actually see these. And what I've used it in is particularly for manufacturing and more so for purchasing, when they want to go out and send it out to a vendor, which one do I want to have? Do I want A.1 or do I want B.3? What do I want? And it takes a lot of the work out for those two areas in purchasing and manufacturing.
Yeah. Okay. I can check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's not hard to do. If you're an administrator, or if you need help, you can ping me. But it is really something where I've used it in the past, always all the way back to my early days, and since the recent things with WinCom. And Jeff, step in here anytime you want in regards to and more of the Navigate side of things. Maybe we've done some combinations where we've combined this from WinCom. So, but it's like a third party, and it works really well. I can tell you.
I can step in and just say that we've done combination environments. However, the goal here would be more so to use that Navigate as a controlled environment, because we don't want to be exporting stuff out if we don't have to. So if we keep stuff, the more stuff that's exported out of a system can cause, the more risk, we'll just say, that's involved.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
So in fairness, yes, we can do what Bill was talking about as far as exporting out the PDF representations to a file folder where everybody can get the information. But I think the goal that most people are trying to achieve here is keep it within a centralized system and not have documentation floating around that's not meant to be doing so, right? And keep it in a controlled state.
Well, sometimes, and Devin, you're right in regards to you don't want everything out there. I've used Project Link for vendors where you invite them to your project and you only allow them access to certain things. So even though you're publishing everything internally to Windchill, that particular vendor can only see certain things. A real good example of that would be like if you had a resistor on a PC board, because you're going to have 3 or 4 different vendors that are producing these resistors for you, and you don't want each other ones to see each other. So that's why I use Project Link, and it works really well to invite them to a project, and you stop all the issues with that.
Yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of Project Link for certain use cases as well. Good. Well, I did pop up, Devin jumped in there and he's my counterpart here at TriStar. So I did add our email addresses. I think there's some great conversation that happened on this workshop here today, but as you guys think of other things, like I mentioned, we do have that more change management, Windchill Navigate app as well. So if you want to see that, or just connect with us to dig a bit more into your specific use cases, we're happy to do that. So feel free to grab our emails, get direct access to either one of us, and we're here to help.
Devin, it's nice to hear from you. It's been a while since you and I spoke.
Sure has. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, I am. But it's been a while. It was from our engine power days. So thank you.
Okay, this is Deb. Thank you so much, TriStar. I guess when I was giving my meeting notes before the meeting, I didn't mention about the Global Summit coming up in Las Vegas the last week of April next year. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. Send me an email. But thanks again, and see you all in some upcoming meeting. Thanks, TriStar.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see
Thanks,
you all.
Deb.
Thank you.
Deb, will the recording be posted?